Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of A Father's Note, where we promote fatherhood through building men. As always, we're so happy that you take the time out to spend the evening with us. We have a great interview lined up for you, whereas we're going to be talking about the life of a father with a very special guest all the way from Peru, none other than my dear friend and brother in Christ, Mr. John Carlos Sweeney. But before we get into this interview, I just want to remind you, listen, you need to get this book. This book is not just about my life story. No. What this book contains is lessons and strategies in which that I have learned that is needed to be implemented if you want to grow and advance yourself as a man who walks in maturity. See, it's easy for us to call ourselves a man, which we already are from birth. But the most important thing that what needs to happen with us as men is that we need to mature into our manhood. And I promise you, if you were to invest in this book would help you do exactly that, because I have so many life experiences in there. And let me tell you something, I learned some stuff now. And this book will not fail you if you invest in it. If you're interested in this book, you can go to our website, ourfathersnote.com, and you can purchase the book there. Thank you so much. So let's get into this. Without any further ado, let me introduce to our Father's Note audience none other than Mr. John Carlos Sweeney himself. How you doing, brother?
I'm doing good, brother. It's a pleasure to be here.
Man, I'm glad that you're here, man. Yeah, it's been a long time coming, man. But again, I just want to welcome you to A Father's Note. And we've known each other for some years now. I think going back to maybe 2007, 2008, something like that. And we met in church. Yes. And it was so interesting because during that time, we traveled, especially down to Nicaragua together.
Your first time, I was there.
Yes, you were.
We shared a room.
Yes, we did. We certainly did, man. And I'm telling you, man, you were such a great inspiration. And you translated. You was a translator.
That's right.
One of the best, I have to say. But let's get into this. Where we talk about the life of a father. So when we met, you were not married
at all.
You were not married, nowhere near married. You was a man who, a single man who really loved God. Loved God. That's the one thing that I can absolutely say about you. You had a passion for God. But so can you just talk about share? Again, this is a question I would want to ask you then. What was your experience in life that drawed you to want to be so close to God? Have that passion for God as you do?
Well, when I was 17 years old, me and my father at the time, I say at the time because I was not raised by my biological father. My stepfather, whose last name I carry now.
Okay.
We had gone through some really rough times in the family, and my mother pretty much displayed things in a way that made me blame dad.
Your father?
Yes. And I had a lot of anger towards my dad at that time.
You're talking about your biological father?
No, my stepdad.
Your stepfather.
Because my biological dad was not in the picture really. He would only come once in a while to see me, and that's about it.
So you don't remember or recall any relationship, really having any form of relationship with him. Just no more than the mere fact knowing that he was a man who was your father. That's it.
Right. And I mean, he would come and he would spend some time with me. Mm-hmm. And at that time, I didn't even know he was my father.
Really?
Yes. He was my aunt's husband. it wasn't until later in life that it was revealed to me that he was my father. Because man, I looked exactly like him. You couldn't really hide that anymore.
Wow, wow, wow.
And so I never really considered him my father until a few years ago.
Okay.
When it started, dawning in my heart that you know, nobody's fault really. I don't blame anybody.
Mm-hmm.
And I kind of reconciled with the reality in which I came into this world and with life.
So you was 17.
I was 17, and I had a lot of anger to whom I had as a dad, and my him and my mother, they had a pretty successful business that they started from scratch during that time, and due to some misunderstandings and some conflicts in their life, they pretty much threw the business away.
Okay, so now you're talking about your father who stepped in.
Yes.
That's how I like to rephrase
Amen.
it. Instead of
That's a good
stepfather,
way. That's a
father
good
who
way.
stepped in.
Yeah. The father who stepped in.
So how long was he in your life?
He was in my life from age 9 till age 34 when he passed away.
Okay, so all right, I want to come back to him, but can we go back to your biological father?
Yes, sir.
Right? All right. So because it's interesting you said that he would come and spend time with you, but he was married to your aunt. Am I saying this right?
Yes, right.
Right?
My mother's sister.
Your mother's sister, right? Okay. And you did not know, but you said he was in and out, or he would come by. So what's your age period now at this time?
I'm 45 years old now.
You're 45 now, but what age were you then when you recall your time with you spending your time with him?
Okay. I remember the first time I met him was when I was about 10 years old. And I really did not like this man at all because he had a different type of personality. My mom, whom she didn't even know that was my father, he didn't know he was my father. Um, my mom had me pretty much guide him through the city. I was like his little GPS at that time.
Mm-hmm.
And I had my little Game Boy with me. And in one of the turns that he was supposed to make, I got distracted and he had to correct himself. I had to, oh, you had to turn here, and we missed that turn.
Right.
He told my mother that, and my mother was the type of person that she would really get angry with certain little things, and she got really mad at me. And that's when I started really disliking this guy, because I was thinking, I'm doing this for him, and he's gonna tell on me.
Okay.
And that didn't set off a good impression with the gentleman.
Okay, so you really didn't have a good relationship with your biological father.
Right. Okay. And then he would always come in, to visit us, because he would always be coming to the United States for different reasons. He was a businessman, pretty successful businessman. Mm-hmm. And then I remember at age 17, well, I think this happened a little, no, yeah, 17, right after I had met the Lord. He came into my life in a very troublesome time, as I just mentioned, because I was having a lot of conflict and I had a lot of anger to my dad, the one that stepped in.
Okay.
And I remember he was a very knowledgeable man on the word. And I had just began to get interested in the word. I was just beginning to read the Bible, and this gentleman knew the Bible, man. He knew
so he introduced you to Christ?
No. I met Jesus in a Nicaraguan church in Southwest Miami, because I was so heartbroken. My mom was devastated during that time after losing the business and separating from her husband. She found Christ, and she would always want us to go to church with her. I was a young man with long hair, like up to here, surfer boy from South Beach. And I thought that, the Christian people would judge me, so I never wanted to go. I remember this one particular Sunday. It was April the 21st, 1996. It was the first time that me, my mother, and my sister had a really nice day. And I remember it was around 4 p.m. in Sunny Isles. we were just coming to the car from the beach, and I remember opening the door for her, and I said, "Wow, this was such a beautiful day, Mom." And she said, "Yes, son, it was. And to make it perfect, if you could just please come to church with me today." And that was the first time that I couldn't tell her no, because I knew how to blow her off really good, really easy, just no.
Mm-hmm.
And man, I went to church that day. And I mean, I had already heard the message, but religion and spirits were telling me, no, you're too young to make that commitment. You still got to live your life. Religious thinking. That's why I would never want to go to church. And I was thinking, these people, man, they're not gonna like me. I have long hair, they probably want me to cut my hair. I had all these preconceived ideas about the church folk. Well, that day I went to church. And guess what the sermon was about? The preacher was telling the story on how he was very angry with his dad.
Mm.
And I really liked that preacher. I really liked the way he spoke. I liked everything about him. And at the end of the service, no, and he also said how he forgave his dad, and he spoke how God forgives us and how forgiveness was such a wonderful thing. And I don't even remember like the details of the service, but
Right.
I remember that moment I decided to forgive my dad. The one
Yep.
that stepped in. The only one I had conflict in, because the other guy, I didn't like him, but I didn't care about him. And I didn't even know
But
he was.
okay. So
I didn't even know he was
you
my
didn't
dad.
know. Oh,
He was just,
okay,
hey, my
okay.
uncle,
Okay,
and
okay. That's how you viewed him, and it was an uncle that you just didn't
I
like.
couldn't stand this guy.
Okay, okay. Now it makes sense. Now it makes sense. So now you.
I'm in church,
Mm-hmm.
and I decided. I remember. I was like, you know what? Yeah, man. There's no point in holding grudge to him. And besides, I don't really know the real details, and I don't even know.
How old are you now?
Right now, I'm 45.
No.
At that time,
At that
17.
time.
17, 1996, okay. April the 21st, Sunday afternoon.
Wow.
1996.
Okay.
And so that'll be 28 years ago.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I forgave him in my heart, like with all my heart, due to that message that this gentleman preached.
Wow.
Pastor Francisco Palacios.
Come on.
In the church, Spanish church, Templo Calvario.
Okay.
In Southwest Miami.
Yeah.
And at the end of the message, this gentleman said, if there would be anybody that would want to come up to the front so that I could pray for them, I will welcome you to come. And I figured, man, I really like what this gentleman said. I think he's a really cool guy in my terminology back then. And I figured, you know what? I want him to pray for me. I do. Excuse me. So I went. I stepped up to the front, and he said, if there's anybody that wants to give their life to Jesus, and I felt the presence of God, man. I felt the presence of God 2 times in my life that strong, that I truly believe that the Lord Jesus himself showed up. And I could tell you why I believe that. I didn't know that at that time, but I felt this presence so incredible that every other time that they would ask me, do you want to give your life to Jesus? I would be like, no, not yet. But man, that day Jesus was there. I could not diss him to his face. I could not turn my back to him to his face. So I remember I began to say the prayer of salvation. And then the atmosphere got so strong that I couldn't even speak anymore, that I had to follow it in my mind. And I remember the whole church got up, came to the front, the whole church, and all of them were praying for me, and all of them were crying, because I guess they felt the presence of God too. And that's the day I gave my life to Jesus. And that's how I came to Christ.
You've been passionate about it, man. I've never seen anyone so passionate and transparent, even at times in your flaws or maybe your errors or weaknesses. Wasn't that you try to be holier than thou, but you just had a love for God, and that it. Man, let me tell you something that really inspired me, and I think that might have been one of the biggest reasons why it really gravitated. I gravitated to you, in our relationship, just because you're just so genuine, man, and you have such a genuine heart. So now here it is. You apparently, in order for you to receive that type of experience from God, from the Spirit of God, then no doubt you have forgiven your father.
Oh man, yeah, I did that day.
Okay. So where we moving on from there. Let me ask this question, Dan. How was your relationship with your mother?
I loved my mother with all of my heart, and I didn't know about the spirit of Jezebel, and she had a strong one. She had a really strong one. She was two people. She was the most loving, most amazing lady, full of life, great sense of humor, so much fun to be around. But then, man, this switch would turn, and she would be the most mean, evil person that I know.
So they had to. So by now, the father who stepped in is not around,
No,
and so you have no father figure in your life. You're 17, 18 years old,
yes,
and as you just stated, you have a mother who one way today, another way tomorrow.
not even
Or
one way right now, another way in an hour, and then switch back.
Yeah, I was trying to be a little, generous, cautious, but that had to be. Or let me ask the question: was it traumatic mentally
It
on
was
you?
it was traumatic. The fact that dad left.
Can I take the question a little bit further?
Yes, sir.
And the reason I say that because did it at any point in time cause you to feel that you were not loved?
No, I always felt like really loved, but it kind of I always had guilt thinking that she would switch because I did something wrong. So I kind of thought it was my fault.
Okay, okay,
But now I know it wasn't my fault, man. I was a good son.
right, right. Mom still living?
Yes, she is
Okay.
wonderfully living. She's blessed, happy, has a wonderful husband.
Is she here in the States or?
She lives in the States. She lives in
Okay.
Georgia.
Okay, all right.
Just
Cool.
retired.
So here it is, your life is going on now. What was your life? Tell us before you got married, because you left us, went to Peru. The next thing I know, John Carlo has a child, married, and all this stuff.
Yes, sir.
But what was your life? Can you give us Dill's experience between 17 and the time when you got married? How long you been married now?
I'm going on 8 years. I'll
Going on 8
be
years.
married 8 years November.
Okay. So what was your transitioning? What did you go through, man? Give us some experiences
Yes, sir.
that as a man that you went through.
Yes, sir.
And that you knew for a fact that if it wasn't for God, you would not be where you're at right now today.
Wow. Yeah, I could do that. Okay, well, let me just continue, I guess. Dad left. I forgave him, got born again. And about a few months later, dad came back.
Okay.
Got remarried to my mom because they got a divorce and they got remarried.
Okay.
Okay. And
Interesting.
see, I smoked pot all of my life. I don't anymore,
Mhm.
but I smoked pot all of my life. And at that time, I was just, I guess, a beginner, let's say. And my mother, being from Peru, she didn't understand that pot and heroin are different. She thought they were the same.
Right.
So one day, she was supposed to come home late, around 11 p.m., and I figured that I could sneak out and smoke and come back before she got home. But to my surprise, and I didn't have any eye drops or anything. To my surprise, she was home, and I could not fake it. She saw right through what was going on, and she thought, I was on something as bad as heroin. I remember she started crying in this horrible, tormentous way, and she even said that I'd rather put you in jail than let you be like this and to save you. And at that time, I would try to tell her it's not that big of a deal, but there was no way that she could understand that. And this was December. I was born again, like I told you, in April. This was December that same year, my senior year in high school. And she made a proposition to me. This was like uh, a couple of days after Christmas, and she said, "Look, I've been talking to your aunt, my father's wife. We didn't know, nobody knew, and who was really close to me. I mean, she was like my second mom. I love this lady dearly, like, and she was too special to me." And she said, "Look, Rocio has spoken to her husband. Rocio's my aunt, and she said that you could go live with them, and you could go to college in Chile. They'll pay for everything." And by this time, I didn't have my papers here in the United States, so I couldn't travel. I hadn't gone back to Peru since I was 9 years old. And she said, "Look, and it's perfect time because everybody's finishing school right now because they finish school in December, not in June like here." And she said, "Look, if you were to accept, you would get to go to Abancay, my hometown, Apurimac, and you could spend the whole summer there, 3 months, and then you could go to Chile, finish your senior year in Chile, and then you will only have lost a few months, and then you could go to college in Chile." Excuse me, because of my heartbreak and because of this new problem that I had, that, man, my mom is all heartbroken because I failed her. I've been smoking pot, and it's like heroin. It's so bad. I accepted because under no other circumstances will I ever have accepted leaving the United States, ever. But only because of these circumstances, I accepted. And I went, I did it. I went to Peru. I was supposed to stay 3 months. And then when I went to Chile, that's where my father and my stepmom lived. They're, like I said, they're very wealthy. And they were going to put me in a very, very elite school, in a school that gives all the kids psychological screening before you could get accepted, because they don't want a bad apple with the rest of the good ones.
Right.
Well, I failed miserably the psychological screening. The shrink was able to see right through my pain and all my suffering, and that I was not stable at the time.
How old are you now?
17 still.
At that time, still
Yeah.
17.
Yes.
So you
no. Yeah, 17, sir. 17.
So you come to Christ, had a moment with Pop. Mom see through it. She find out that you're doing it, and decides that, suggestions or recommend, however you want to phrase it, you need to go stay with your aunt.
Yes.
In Peru.
In Chile.
In Chile.
And I get to go to Peru. She knew that I really wanted to go back to see my family in Peru. So, yes.
Okay. You failed the psychological test.
Yeah. So, okay, that's where we left off. So I remember my dear aunt, man. She was devastated. And I remember I got happy. I was like, "Mama, how about I just go back to Peru and finish my senior year in Peru, and then I could come and go to college here."
Right.
And then I remember she was crying, and she looked at me. She was like, "Would you do that?" And I said, "Actually, that's what I would prefer to do. Because look, I'm going to spend all this time here in Chile, but at least I get to spend 1 year in Peru, and that would be my senior year. That'd be so special."
Okay.
So that's what we did. And then, of course, I did my senior year. And then I remember I had to go take the college admission exam that first time. And I failed. There was only 15 spots for foreigners, and I was number 16.
Wow.
But I remember, before I took the exam, by this time, man, I was on fire for God, full-blown Christian, the whole nine,
Right.
And I remember praying, man. I was like, "God, please let me enter college. Help me with this exam."
Right.
And I did it with all my heart, and I failed. And then they told me to come back to Chile and spend that whole year getting prepared for this test.
Okay.
Okay. And then that second time around, man, I remember because of the way my mom dressed me, with the garments that she put on me, that this kid, he's on drugs and he's lazy. He's not really committed. As a man now,
Words, garments of words.
yeah, garments of words. That's how you dress your children.
Mm.
So I know now that I was none of those things.
Right.
This was all Jezebel.
That's a good point.
Okay. And I remember I thought that I was not going to enter college. No way,
Especially with all the failures.
Yeah. And besides, everybody told me that I wasn't. I remember my dad, whom I didn't know was my dad at the time, he had entered a very prestigious university in Peru, probably the most prestigious university, and he entered in second place. And I remember one time him and his cousin were with me. His cousin was one of the people that would assist me in getting ready for the test. Mm-hmm. And he told me,
you still don't know he's your dad.
No, not yet. And then I remember this book that I was supposed to study was this thick. And I remember he told me, when I was getting ready to go take that test, I wasn't like you. I used to get up early in the morning and study all day till about 10 p.m. at night. And I was accepted in second place. That's a great honor. And then he pointed to his cousin, whom I guess is my uncle, Karim. And he said, and Karim, with his friend Mario, they would do the same as I did. They would get up at 8 o'clock in the morning and study till 10 p.m. And you got to eat this whole book, son. But kind of like saying, but you're not doing that. And I would just, by this time I was a little calloused. I would take all of the words that they would say, but it wouldn't really affect me emotionally anymore. But psychologically, it would. And okay, I said, okay. So, okay, fast forward to the day of the exam. There was 2 exams. One was a mathematics and the other one was a biology, because my aunt, she wanted me to be a doctor. So I guess I wanted to be a doctor. And the day of the exam, the math exam, I did the best that I could. Okay. And I remember my aunt a week prior told me, she said, look, she was all worried. I guess she spoke to my mom. And she said, I don't think you're ready, son. I'm going to get a special tutor for this whole week for you to really practice and really learn your stuff. And I remember I got a little upset. And I told myself, I said, you know what? Whatever I didn't learn this year, I'm not going to learn in a week. I'm going to take a break this week. And I took a break that week. Against everybody.
In defiance?
Not really in defiance. It was just kind of like, you know what?
It was just you were doing it for you.
I'm being honest.
It was your decision.
I was never defiant. Looking back, I was not a defiant, even though I was dressed with the garments of defiance, but I was not.
Yeah, that's an interesting point that you say. But go ahead on, because I want to speak to that.
Okay.
But go ahead on. So
all right. So I remember I took my first test, and I did. Man, I remember it was a 2-hour test. I had a really good relationship with the math teacher. And I remember it took me 3 extra minutes, and I was the last person to turn in my test. And he stood right next to me for the last 3 minutes as I finished, and I turned it over. And then I don't know what happened that evening. That the next day for my other test, I had a different heart already. I was looking at all the students. It was hundreds of students the day of the test, and everybody was still practicing and still doing their little things, and I remember clearly thinking to myself, these people, all of them deserve to enter college, but I don't. I wasn't dedicated enough. I didn't do enough. So I guess I'm not going to go to college. And this test, I'm not even going to worry about it. All I could do is do the best that I can. I can't do anything else. It was a 2-hour test. I finished it in 20 minutes. Why? Because I remember I would read the question. Oh, the rules of the test were this: any question you got wrong, you had points. Any question you didn't answer did not help you or hurt you. And any question that you got wrong would deduct points from the points that you already had. So I told myself, I was like, what I know, and what I don't know. So I remember I would read the question. If I knew it, answered it. If I didn't, skip it. And I did it so quickly that because I was like, whatever, man. I know what I know, and I know what I don't know. And besides, I'm not gonna get accepted. Too many people prepare themselves way better than I did for me to get accepted.
Can I ask you a question though on that for me? How much of that was you versus how much was that the words of the garment of words that was placed on you? Or was it a mixture?
It was a mixture because I think it was mostly the garments because I didn't know who I was. I didn't. My dad, the one that stepped in, he would speak good words into my life, but the rest of the people would not. And that would be my mother and her family and everybody. Okay, so then I remember the next day I flew to Peru, not to ever come back to Chile because I'm not getting accepted. You know, there's a lot of more details that are really fun of this story, but I'm just going to try to keep it a little short.
Mhm.
I go to Peru, and Peru, everybody gets the results of the exams that same day. In Chile, they give them 2 weeks later. So I'm in Peru. I'm thinking I'm never coming back. 2 weeks later, and remember, I'm the irresponsible black sheep and all of these other accusations that I would have. And I used to really like to drive a motorcycle. There was a motorcycle at the house in my grandparents' house in Peru. And I remember that I would get up really early because they were in the dairy business. And I would get up really early to deliver the milk or the cheese or whatever it was. But the reason I did this too, I did it so then after I could get on the motorcycle and nobody could get on my case about it because that was my passion. It was a dirt bike, and man, those mountains, I like to just go hours. 2 weeks later, I already forgot about the test. I could care less about the test. And then for the first time ever in my life, my grandfather, whom always had a disappointment, I've always felt his love, but I always felt his disappointment. He, with the arms wide open, is waiting for me at the front door of the house. Long, big entrance, and he was at the bottom of the entrance. And I'm thinking he's like happy that I'm helping out. You know, and I remember his words. He said, my son, you have finally come home as a man." And I remember telling him, he hugged me, and it was like too much, too big of a hug for the little effort that I'm doing. You know, and he said, and then I remember I'm thinking he's so happy because I'm helping out, and I told him, "Hey, Papa, I'm gonna keep helping out every day that I'm here." And he didn't even hear what I said, and he said, "You got accepted to college, my son." What? Oh man! And I didn't really like Chile a lot because I missed my family back home. I wanted to be in Peru, so I was like, and then I was like, "Oh wow, I got accepted! Oh man, okay." And then I thought, "Oh man, I gotta go back to Chile." All right, and then I keep walking down, and then my uncle, the praised one of the family, his name is Marco. He was a mayor of the town. He's done everything right in his life and all of that. The second one in line, and he starts crying with tears. Son, congratulations! You've achieved this goal, and may you achieve many more. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And then the third person, my grandmother, and she was the first one that didn't start with congratulations. She started with, "My son, forgive me. I am so sorry." I was like, "What? What's up, Mama?" And she's like, "I'm so sorry. I can't believe I doubted you." And I need to apologize for doubting you. You got accepted to college. And I was like, okay, no, I forgive you. No big deal. And then it just a little curiosity happened. I was like, okay, and what was my placement? What was my ranking? And the test? And she says, second place, my dear son. Really? Oh, and in the test, I remember I heard a little voice. Hey, look at your the answers on your neighbor. And I looked, and then I said, you know what? If I'm gonna fail this, I'm gonna fail this on my own. And then I kept going. And man, I entered second place. I got accepted to college, to a more prestigious school than my father, the University of Chile School of Medicine. Second place, bro. So that kind of brought doubts. Oh, I mean, I knew I did pretty good. I knew I prepared myself pretty good, and apparently I did really good. Because not only did I get second place like my father did, whom I didn't know who was my father, but somebody that my whole town looked up to, and I looked up to. And I was like, and you know what? I actually outdid him. Because this is a better school than the one that he got accepted to.
Let me interject some things here. Because I'm hearing, it sounds like you came, or you're a part of, or you've come from a very well-to-do family. A family that's business oriented, successful, have a great accomplishments, but it seems like you were living your life for them instead of you living your life for yourself.
You're hitting it right in the nail. We'll get to that, where I admit that, where I realize that.
Okay, go ahead on.
Okay, so by this time I was like, you know what, man? I knew I was smart, man. Come on. Because I also had taken a test in high school that, man, I had incredible honor for that test. And so, okay, now I got accepted to college. Oh, and my grandfather, well, my father, my biological father, he's the wealthy one, money wise. But my grandfather's house, he was the type of gentleman whom the scripture says it's better to be a poor man and have servants. Okay, he wasn't wealthy at all, but he had a nice piece of land that the government gave him. He tilled it, and he had a staff of about 4 to 6 people working for him at all times. I remember he called the servant girls, and you said, you will tend to my son hand and foot, and whatever he says, he gets. Never been honored like that before. And that was special. And then I had to go to Chile, back to Chile. And I was in the university, man. I didn't, it wasn't my thing, man.
Right.
It wasn't my thing. Right. And I remember I would always talk to my mom, the loving, beautiful lady that I told you one side of her. And then I would very rarely talk to my dad. And I remember 6 months into college, I remember my dad said, hey, I never doubted you, right? And it dawned on me, wow, you're the only one. Oh.
So this is the dad who stepped in.
Yeah. He said, you knew that I knew, and I told you, hey, for you to enter college, for you to get accepted, for you, as smart as you are, no big deal, boy. But you never believed in yourself. But I always did. He said, calm down.
You okay, bro? You're in a safe spot, man.
Yeah, no, but I don't want this to interrupt this.
Yeah.
Let's get over this. And he said, the same way, my son, that I never doubted you, and I told you that for you to enter college would be something too easy for you, and you entering in second place just proved it. He said, the same way I told you that I got to tell you this next thing. He said, as easy as it was for you to enter that college that was such a big, big mountain to climb, I know you could go and look for your own life and find your own dreams. And it dawned on me, whoa! And I understood it was like a flash. What I understood is like, I'm living somebody else's dream. I want nothing to do with this. I don't even want to be in Chile. And then I remember I understood it and I said, yeah, but then how do I tell my aunt? And how do I tell Edward, my dad, whom I don't know? And how do I explain to everybody that always keeps telling me, and before the test, they would tell me, you're the only one that gets this chance. Thousands, I remember the number, at least 5,000 kids in Peru would love to have the opportunities you have, and you squander them. Well, by this time, I didn't squander them. It was a fact already. And I said, how do I explain to them that I don't want to do this anymore? And then he said, that is for you to figure out, my boy. And I know you can do it. You see how you tell them, and you see when you tell them. But this is all I have to say about that. And man, I was like, wow, that whole afternoon, I was like, you know what? I'm living somebody else's dream. I'm living somebody else's life. This got nothing to do with me. And then that's it. I would only go to college to hang out, to chill with the people, because I was planning on how I was going to tell my aunt, I got to go.
Right.
And then I started traveling. I started going to this beach city that was a couple hours away, kind of like going to Naples, because Santiago doesn't have beach. And my aunt caught wind to that. And of course, I'm sure they told her, and my mom also was, hey, what's wrong with this boy, And I remember
so you finally told him.
Yeah, she called me. She said, son, I don't know if it's right for you to be, because I didn't live with her. I had my own other house, and also a very prominent neighborhood in Santiago. They live in the best neighborhood in Santiago. And she said, you know what? I want you to come live with me, and I'm going to put you the best tutors to tutor you to ensure that you're going to be doing good. And then because look, the way you're living, you travel so much, you're always away. That's not the life of a student. That's not the life that I led as a student. And then I cut her off. I said, Mamita, you want to know the truth? The truth is that I've been acting like this and living like this is because I don't want to be here anymore. I don't want to go to school. I don't want to be a doctor. And then I remember she paused and she said, and what would you like to do? The only thing I have in my heart, I want to go back home to my house in Miami. And I would love for you to help me do that. And I already, before I took the test and all, since I wasn't going to make it and all, I tried to get a visa and I got denied. But I always heard that, they were friends with the ambassador of Brazil. They knew the ambassador of Peru. They're in the elite circle. And I figured, if they stepped in, I'm sure I could get it. Mm-hmm. This was, if I'm not mistaken, a Thursday afternoon that I'm talking. Next Wednesday, I'm in Miami.
Wow.
How? Wow. They called their people. They got me a brand new passport with no record on it. There was no record that I
had ever been to Miami
and that I had been denied for a visa.
Oh, okay.
I'm in a whole other country. And man, my fancy address with these fancy people, man. I remember we went to see the councilman, the U.S. councilman, and he just asked me a few questions. What are you going to the United States for? I said, "Oh, check out Disneyland," which was true.
Right.
It was true, but that was not all. But he was on a need to know basis.
Yeah.
I remember, man, he just said, okay, son, enjoy the United States. Gave me 10 years.
Wow.
Yeah. Wow. That was on a Monday. Remember, Thursday I told her by Monday, this is happening. Got my ticket, and she said, look, just to ensure that you don't have any problems getting into the United States, I'm going to take you to the United States personally, she said. And she brought me with my two little sisters. I didn't know they were, look, and we always said that we were brother and sister.
Wow.
And my stepmom always called me her son.
Yeah.
And they brought me to the United States, and I arrived.
Does she know?
Of course she does. Now she does.
But did she know?
No. We all found out pretty much around the same time.
Okay.
And then
I wish we had time to really go into that and find that out, but
we could do this again.
But maybe we can. But let's fast forward though. Here it is to you becoming a father.
Okay.
Yeah.
So well, just let me finish with this.
Mhm.
You said that times that God really stepped in,
Right.
and if it wouldn't have been for Him, my life wouldn't have taken the course.
Right. Yeah.
Okay. What seemed to be a travesty, my mom finding out that I smoke pot. It was just, God using the opportunity to take me spend some time with my father, whom I didn't even know.
No.
And I got to see the man, and I fell in love with him. Wonderful.
Wow.
Guy.
Wow.
Man, and because remember I didn't like him, it was because his personality was a little different. Everybody didn't like him. And I remember from that time on, whenever anybody, because they knew I lived in Chile with my uncle, they would always talk, they had always something negative to say. Right. And I always stood up for him. And I would say, yeah, but hey, he's the most successful guy in our town, though. He's the smartest guy in our town, though. And I would always tell him, man, to me, he's awesome. And I loved him. All right. That was the first thing. The second thing, hey, I pray to God, and I guess He helped me because remember, psychologically, it would affect me, not so much more emotionally. Mm-hmm. I pray to God, hey, He made it happen. I got accepted into college. Mm-hmm. And then the third thing that I know it was God, it was the dad that stepped in, shining some light, because he knew me, man. That dude knew me. Mm-hmm. He shined some light and allowed me to see I'm living somebody else's life, somebody else's dream. And I know it was God that allowed me to come back to the United States. So I could clearly see that God had my back. God was my father.
Wow. Wow.
Now, we could go into whatever you want.
So fast forward.
Yes, sir.
Interesting story, though. Fast forward, you're a father now. You have 3 beautiful children.
Yes, I do.
2, 3, and 6.
That's right.
Right? Or 6, 3, and 2.
That's right.
Tell us a little bit about them.
Okay.
No, you know what? No, let's take it from this. So you get married, right? What's your wife's name?
Lita.
Lita. And you met her where?
In my hometown in Abancay. And one of the times that I would be going back, because at this time my grandfather was still alive. Right. Even though, he didn't see me with the right eyes, I still loved him and I still would love to be around him. Okay, so where was I going with this?
So you meet Lita.
Oh yeah, okay. No, I know where I'm coming now. Okay. Before you got to Spirit of Life, because remember I'm a member of Spirit of Life since June the 14th, year 2000.
Okay, wow.
That was a Wednesday.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And the next year I began to date a young lady that I brought to the church. Mm-hmm. And I was supposed to marry her. Mm-hmm. I dated her till 2007, April 3rd, 2007, we broke up. Devastated me. Broke my heart.
How old are you now?
45.
No.
At that time, I was exactly 27 years old. Because April the 4th, the next day, I turned 27. Okay, and everybody thought that we were going to get married. Even the kids and the young kids, they used to say, if there was a couples magazine, you guys would be in the cover. And, right. Even Pastor Rhonda thought that we were going to get married. Mm-hmm. And we broke up. Man, soon after, she gets pregnant. Broke my heart. So then, and before that, I had one other girlfriend from my high school sweetheart, who I lasted 3 years with. And she was a lot like my mom. She was beautiful and bad, the same way. Right. So I remember at this time, I decided, okay, I'm through. I don't want nothing to do with picking a woman. And I said, Father God, if there's anything that I ask of you in my life personally, if there's one thing that I want to ask of you, you choose the woman that I marry. Mm-hmm. I want nothing to do with it. Man, I was single for a long time. Mm-hmm. And then I would date a little bit, but then I would see, and man, by this time too, I decided never to have sex again. and I was really going to honor God. That was the last girl I had sex with until my wife.
Wow.
From 27 to 38.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
And I told no, sorry, that's when my daughter was born. 36.
36. Okay. Yeah.
Okay. And when I got married. And that was my heart. And I would really learn how to, see right through girls. It's like, no. I mean, I am a decently handsome young Latino man. So I did attract plenty of beautiful girls. But I would always be the one that no. And remember, I would go to Club Live and all of that. Never got a girl's number. Never dated a girl, man. And what I would do, God knows it's true. I would worship God in there, man. Wow. And I would bind all the devils and everything in there, And one day, I needed to go to my hometown for the anniversary of my hometown. Mm-hmm. This was when I was, I guess, 37 years old by this time. And the anniversary is the 3rd of November. And the 2nd of November is kind of like the big party, right when it turns 12, the fireworks, and all of that, right? And I wanted to go see the people there. And everybody goes to the disco, to go dancing and whatnot. Since I would go to Club Live, I went to the disco there too. And I remember as I'm approaching the front door, I see this young lady whom I had met a few years ago. And I remember she said, "Hey, how are you?" And I said, "Hello." And then, we hugged and whatnot. And then she said, and I was there with one of my friends. I was not even going to go there because by this time I didn't party anymore. I could care less about going out. I was bored with my life, bored. There was no excitement really in my life. The only thing that I really like to do is travel with Apostle Jonas. That's it. Other than that, lame. And I remember I wasn't even going to go. And what time I would go to the club was always at 2 a.m. I like to get there because that's when it's really bumping. Like that's how it was in Live. So I figured, that's what time I was going to go. But that time I wasn't even going to go. But I had told my good buddy that I would go with him. And he called me. He's like, "Yo, are you ready?" I was in bed, man. I got up from out of bed, got dressed, and I went. And then I met her at the front door. And she told me, "Hey, can me and all of my friends hang out with you?" I was like, "Of course." That day, and she was not even one of the girls that I was attracted to naturally. She's a good-looking lady, but I guess, hey, I don't know. I wouldn't have chose her to be my girlfriend or nothing.
Can we show a picture of her?
Please.
Yeah. Let's see what. Yeah. Yeah. So that is Lita.
Yes, that's Lita.
And that is the first.
No, that's the third, Jonas.
That's Jonas. Okay.
This is at my sister-in-law's wedding.
Okay. All right. Beautiful.
Yeah, that's Lita in her fur jacket that I purchased for her.
So that's all your children right there.
Yeah, that's Zoe, Giancarlo Jr., and Jonas Arthur David.
Okay, so Jonas is being held by Lita.
Yes, Giancarlo by me, and Zoe is standing.
Gotcha. All right. Man, I love this picture here, man.
It's beautiful. Huh?
Oh, very, very, man. Where's this location here?
Abancay, Apurimac, my hometown.
Okay, cool, man. That's awesome. Thank you for sharing your family with us, man.
My pleasure, sir.
So you met her?
So I met her, and I remember I think it was the next day in the afternoon. I called her, and she said, "You want to hang out?" I was like, "Yeah, sure." We hang out for a little bit, and then the day after, I invited her over to my grandfather's house. It's a very, very beautiful property. He passed away, and the property's still there though. And the backyard, beautiful, man.
This is where
in Abancay, in Peru. Okay. You would really think that this is something very special. He tended to it. He was a good husbandman. And I remember sitting in this avocado tree as we were talking and having fun. And I would see this girl be the most genuine, person, the most genuine girl I had ever met. And that's when I realized, wow, she's so special. That's what she had to be.
Mm.
And then a few days later, we got married.
Cool, man.
And she turned out to be the most wonderful woman I've ever met. Like I say, she's better than my mom. She's better than my grandma.
How has she impacted your life?
Well, she's the first person other than the dad that stepped in that truly believed in me, like that knew me personally, deeply, and truly believed in me. And she's the one that pretty much solidified the man that I am. I don't need nobody else's approval. I don't need everybody else's opinion, good or bad or indifferent. It's none of my business. I know my reality. I know who I am, and that's pretty much the main thing that she brought to my life, other than my kids.
That's good. That's good. So
And
now, your first child, Chloe, right?
Zoe.
What was that experience like?
Well,
Becoming a father.
just full transparency. I was happy that I was going to be a father, but it was kind of like something foreign to me. You know, when Zoe was born, I was happy that she was healthy. I was happy that she was in one piece.
Mm-hmm.
I took my mother-in-law out that night, and it wasn't until Zoe started interacting with me that I actually began to feel a father and began to feel that love.
Were you afraid?
Never.
Was it fear?
Never. No.
Okay.
It was just foreign to me. It was just kind of like almost like if it was not happening to me. But it's kind of like, okay, you're supposed to be happy. So I mean, kind of was, but it was just like something foreign. Okay, she's pregnant. Okay, well, I just want everything to go okay. I want everything to be okay.
Right.
Oh, and the other thing that happened with Zoe after I started feeling love for her, with her, like I said, a few months after, when she started, smiling, and then even later on when she started talking, man, that's when, man, I decided and to really be a provider. And that's when I really wanted to work, and I really wanted to do things, because all the time prior in my life, it was too easy to take care of just me. And I decided I wanted to give them a good life, and then asking God, show me my path, show me what career am I supposed to do, because by this time I didn't get along with my mom, business wise, no way. And yeah, so that's the main thing that Zoe brought to me, was this energy that just, hey, I'm ready to get up at whatever time. I don't complain about nothing. I'm ready to go like a soldier. So that's the impact that my first child brought to my life. And then if we continue, if you want to.
I was just going to react. So then, what was it like with the second child?
Yeah, with the second child, my boys, man. Oh, my boys, I love the boys, man. With Giancarlo, it was just like I already loved them from the first day I saw him. I guess I really felt what a father's supposed to feel with Giancarlo.
Let me ask you a question. I'm going to poke at you a little bit,
because
there's a word that I hear a lot, and I'm really challenging fathers to refrain from using this word.
Yes, sir.
When they're speaking about their sons. Why is it easy? Because I asked someone this question today. Why is it easy for us as fathers to refer to our sons as boys instead of referring to them as our son? Because that's who they are.
That's my son.
Yeah. And there's more power, if you ask me, in a son hearing his father refer to him, that's my son. Because see, the word boy, I don't have time to get into it, but I'm writing a book on it, but it has a negative connotation on it because of the meaning of it. Slave, servant. So my child is not my slave. My child is not my servant. My child, this man, he is my son. And I want him to grow up knowing that he is my son and be the man, because it's my responsibility to give him the identity, his identity as a man, I don't want to give him the identity that he's a servant.
Amen.
Or a slave. No, I don't want to give him that identity. I want to give him the identity that he's a man and he's my son. And it's my responsibility to give him that identity and to guide him as he matures into his manhood.
Well, I think the true answer that I could come up with is just lack of knowledge, ignorance. But now you shedding that little bit of light, you change that part of me forever.
God be the glory, bro.
And yes, sir. And one thing that has always been in my heart, and I said it since they were very little to both of them, I look at them and I tell them, you are my son.
That's right.
I am your father.
That's right.
You are smart just like your father. You're strong just like your father. You're a good man.
There you go.
And I repeat that all the time.
So you dress them with the right garments.
Man, they're the best dressed.
Yes.
Yes, sir.
I love it, man. I love it. I love it. So give us some good moments. So Giancarlo is how old now?
He's 3
years old.
3 years and 9 months.
3 years and 9 months.
Yes, sir.
So what was it like, man? I'm just asking you. It may sound like a crazy question, but what was it like, man, seeing him walk?
Oh man, let me take it back to the day he was born.
Okay.
Man, I remember she had a C-section, and they take the baby from her, and I followed him around. And I remember Giancarlo, when they put him by himself, he started crying. And then I said, baby, your father's here. Baby, your father's here. I'm with you, baby. I'm here. He quit crying.
Wow.
And then I remember I have videos and pictures of that day. And then you're not supposed to walk into that room.
Right.
And I asked the lady, I was like, please, can I just go see him? I want to take a picture of him. And she's like, looked around, she's like, all right, go. And I went in and I saw him, man. And that was my son.
Wow.
And he's a very special young child. And
have you noticed any personality in him yet? And who would he would you say, if you had to choose, would he have a personality like you or his mother?
Well, I think like his grandfather. Yeah.
Okay.
He's just like him. He's got the same patience about him. He's got the same attitude about him. He's very analytical, very focused, which that's one part of me. Mm-hmm. But the other part of me is I'm very charismatic. Mm-hmm. I mean, I'm a people person. I'm outgoing.
Yeah, always a bit.
Okay, that's Jonas. Jonas. Okay. It's like if I've been split in two.
Wow.
Yeah. Wow. See, the charismatic one was my mom and me. She's the one that's like that. I got those traits. And the analytical, the very smart, soft-spoken, very few words, Giancarlo.
Yeah.
Just like his grandpa.
So, and this your family right now, you're currently residing in Peru.
Yes, sir.
Right. So and you just travel back and forth to the States based on need. Yeah. Right.
Yes, sir.
Okay, man. That's awesome, man. Awesome, man. Got any other happy moments you want to share with us, man, about life as a father?
Oh, man. Well, every single time that we go on vacation, and I take them on vacation a lot.
That's good.
I take them, man. I'm very privileged. I'm very privileged that I spend most of my time at home with them. Mm-hmm. I spend most of my time out and about with them.
That's good.
I work very little, and I'm very blessed.
Right.
And because since I know who I am right now, I know I'm a leader.
That's good.
And the Lord has showed me that I'm the head. Mm-hmm. I'm not the tail. I'm the blessed one.
Right.
I'm the gift here amongst the people that don't have the knowledge of God and of the scripture as much as I do. And he's taught me how to assemble a team, and the team handles everything. Very little in me. But when I'm around the team, I look like if I'm the little helper. I'm the smallest one amongst them.
So you have a business yourself?
Yes, sir.
Okay, that's good.
Adquisiciones Mineras Apurímac. And this is another a name that God gave me, because that word, if you the first initials of that word is AMA, the word love in Spanish. But in the Indian language is the word that says, don't you do that. Don't cross the line. Be careful.
Really?
Yeah. So
really?
yeah. So
okay. Hey man, listen. Hey, we're gonna get out of here, man. But listen, I Man, I really appreciate you, man, coming, man. But before we leave, though, can you share two things I want you to share? Number one, what's the biggest lesson that, based on your life experience,
Well, analyzing my life and then looking back into this analysis just this past week, being in Miami, going everywhere, all the places that I grew up in, I realized that I was a man without any guidance. Even though the father who stepped in was there with love for me, he taught me a few lessons. Like the one lesson that he taught me when I was 18 years old, he said, "No man ever is allowed to disrespect you. You don't have to take disrespect from no man, but also you disrespect any other man." That was the one thing, and then the other little things that I mentioned that made me realize that I was not living my own life. Okay, all of the things that happened to me, and all of the misfortunes, and all the pain that was in my life, and the way I lived my life in an unorthodox way until I got married, and that was because I didn't have any guidance. I didn't have somebody to show me the way, and that's why I'm back wanting to get closer to Apostle Jonas, because my biological father passed away on July the 9th, last Tuesday. And I was realizing he has so much to offer. It's okay. He had so much to offer me. Such a smart man, such a business savvy man. But the Lord, in his wisdom and in his plan for other flaws that he had, also protected me from him. I don't think I would be the same man, and I don't think I would have known God the way I've known him if had he been in my life as my father. Thank God, before last September on John Carlos' birthday, September the 14th, I called him up, and at least that one time we spoke as father and son. And we were planning to meet, but because he was so ill, it didn't happen. And he passed away before we could do that. So,
but forgiveness, healing.
Oh yeah.
Had every healing itself. You had obtained.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't mean to cut you off, but do you think that you have the mindset or the mindset you have right now? I mean, if I ask the question, that may be unfair. But do you think your life would have been like that if you had not destroyed your relationship?
I think my life would have with the one that stepped in, the one that I forgive. Yeah. I don't think I would have met the Lord. It's not late that day I forgave, and the Lord came to.
And what about your biological?
I think it gave me some sort of peace. It gave me, well, definitely not some sort of peace. It gave me some peace that I took that step and I did it. To see what had happened is that my stepmom, his wife, first of all, they tried to give me a DNA test, fake. Right. And I called the DNA people, and then they explained to me, this was not a paternity test. This was a test of ethnicity. And if you read the language correctly, it says that, there's 99% surety that the gentleman whose last name I carried could be my father just as much as any other Hispanic that wasn't tested. But the language was so tricky that anybody that just read it said, yeah, that's his father. Right. And then she's the one that really even told him that I wanted nothing to do with him. And it wasn't that I wanted, and I cleared it up with her, and I even told her, no, I'm going to tell him that I do want a relationship with him. This was years ago. I do want a relationship, and she said, "Oh, please, but don't tell him that I had it." And I wasn't going to protect her.
So you took the initiative.
So he thought that I was rejecting him, but I wasn't rejecting him. Just that I didn't want him to see me with all those dirty clothes that everybody would put on.
Wow, that's powerful.
I just wanted me to be successful as much as he was before I went and I saw him. And now I see that, what a mistake. Maybe I should have given him a chance. Right. So,
but going back to your sons, children, you would just one of these
Oh,
points of respect.
oh man, them boys, guidance. What do they get to learn is the word of God. They get to learn integrity, truth, and that they're worth everything that God has put in them.
Ain't nothing else to say.
That's it.
It's nothing else
So
to say.
that's what them boys get, and they have a father, man. They have a real father, real man whose wife respects him, honors him, and backs him up 100%. She's a God-fearing woman, very wise, very. She's I guess full of integrity, amazing posture.
And
So
I'm telling you, man, I see it in you, man. I see it in you. I see a different person today than when I had last 6 years ago. Man, I'm so blessed, bro, by your presence, man. Thank you so much
my pleasure, big brother.
for this spontaneous interview.
Yes,
But
sir.
I want to get you while you was here, though. But
Excellent.
thank you so much. Hey, everybody. I cannot say so much about this young man. I have such a great love for him. And I want to thank him so much for coming. But we hope that you've gotten something out of the interview. And one of the great lessons, though, there's a couple of things that I wanted to recap on. One of the things, be careful of what words you speak over your children. Don't dress them with ugly garments. Your words, and I love this. Man. This is newer for me, but I love the fact that my guest, he referred to negative words as garments. Don't dress your children with that. Always speak positive into their life. Number two, let them live their life. You cannot live your life through them. In that sense, only thing you can do is provide them guidance, and it's your responsibility, fathers, to make sure your children, whether or not your son or your daughter, that they have the identity that they should have. It's your responsibility to give them that identity. We hope that you've gotten the same thing that I've gotten from it. It was a great, great, great interview. Thank you so much for you spending time with us. Until then, next time on the Father's Note. Thank you.